It's time for another one-off rebuild, and this time we're heading over to the Netherlands to try and rebuild Ajax. One of the most historic clubs in world football, Ajax have had a season that is going to quickly be forgotten. They finished third place in the league, way off winning the title. There was nothing really to note in a European sense. They've got players that look like they might be leaving, a new era that looks like it needs to start at the club. Behind the scenes staff like Overmars and Van der Sar have also gone. They're currently managerless and they are in need of a fix. So today we're going to try and fix that. In 5 seasons as Ajax boss, focusing only on the transfers, we're going to try and rebuild this team, rebuild this club, and hopefully not only win the Eredivisie again, but potentially push on for a European trophy. Their last Champions League came in 1995, their last Europa League was in 1992. It's been a long time without any European success for Ajax, and this is a club that at one point won the Champions League, or the Champions League equivalent, 3 years in a row back in the 70s. Before we get started with this rebuild though, you guys have been absolutely killing it with the support on the channel recently, so I'm gonna ask you to keep it up again. If you can, smash that like button. It's free, takes a few seconds, and it helps YouTube know that you've enjoyed the content and then pushes it out to more people. So please go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're in this or this percent of people, I don't know which way it will be, that aren't currently subscribed but are watching the content, I'd massively appreciate it. If you hit that subscribe button, it would mean a huge increase to our subscriber numbers, and I'd be hugely grateful to anybody who does that. Comment down below who you want to see rebuilt next, and with that being said, let's get started. Looking at our squad in terms of key first team players, it's quite a small one. We're going to have to promote some youth, but if we're looking at our best talents, we've got Edson Alvarez. He's wanted by some pretty big clubs, so it's going to be pretty tricky keeping hold of him, but he's a brilliant defensive midfielder and centre-back option. Jurrien Timber is a valuable asset as well. The 21-year-old Dutch defender slash right-back is valued at nearly £80 million. No interest in him currently, but hopefully he can lead this rebuild from the back. Kenneth Taylor is a brilliant midfielder with lots of talent and someone that we can definitely build around in the midfield with plenty of potential. But the star that's hopefully going to help us early on is Mohamed Kudus, the Ghanaian international, 21 years of age, £60 million valuation, who has been key for Ajax over the last few years, and I'm hoping he'll be massive for us too. In the dev centre, as you would expect with Ajax, there's plenty of good young talent, but we're adding a twist for this rebuild. We're only going to be allowed to sign under 23 players, try and buy youth, sell them on for big profits, and fund our success that way, as Ajax have done for many years. We've got great facilities, great junior coaching and youth recruitment. This is a club where we should produce plenty of good youngsters. Obviously, Ajax in real life came third, as I mentioned earlier, in their Eredivisie season for the 22-23 season, but for now, we're going to simulate ahead for the first year, see how our team gets on, and then we'll really get stuck into making the transfers and sorting this team out. And as far as first seasons go, we will certainly take this, winning the Johan Cruyff Schaal. I believe that's the Super Cup equivalent of the Dutch divisions. Do let me know if I'm wrong there. We got knocked out in the semi-finals of the Dutch Cup to Sparta Rotterdam, quite disappointing. Knocked out in the round of 16 to Real Madrid in the Champions League. We wouldn't expect to beat Real, but hopefully as this rebuild goes on, we can build a team that could potentially compete. And then obviously the big one for our first season, winning that Eredivisie title. Let's be honest, it was always going to happen. I didn't really make any changes to the team. I didn't play a crazy tactic. Straight away though, we have won the title. We've got the best side in the division, and it was surprising in real life that Ajax didn't win it. So it's not too big of a surprise that we have won it here, but we've got our first Eredivisie title under our belt. That's not what we're after in this rebuild though. As good as it is, we want to push on for some European glory. So we've got plenty of transfers to do, but let's have a look quickly at our best performers. Tadic was brilliant, chipping in with 25 goals in 41 appearances, and Kudus also doing very well, getting 24 goals in 40. Calvin Bassey was very useful, a new signing this year for Ajax from Rangers. And we also promoted some promising youth talent like the likes of Gabriel Missahoy here, who is going to be a great midfielder for us, I'm sure. 17 years of age and already looks phenomenal. But how did we set up tactically? Well, I decided to go for a 5-2-3. I'm not really sure whether we'll stick with this, but it's a gegenpressing system. I felt like 5 at the back did suit us quite well. And if I do select our best 11 in this formation, it does look exactly like this. Rulli in goal, Alvarez and Bassey as the wide centre-backs, with Timber in the centre of that defence, Windel and Rensch as the wing-back options, Klaas and Taylor, Tadic, Bergwijn and Mohamed Kudus apparently as our best striker option. So maybe we need to sort that out, because I wouldn't really imagine him as an out-and-out striker, so maybe we need to sign someone there. But it's been a good season all round. I think we'll build around this tactic for now, get stuck in with our first set of transfers. Remember, we can only sign under 23 players. We've got £35 million to spend, so let's see what kind of talent we can bring in. Well, we speak about bringing in talent, but at the start of season 2, we have lost our first major player. It's probably going to be a key theme here with this Ajax save. When the really big sides come in from the top 5 European leagues and they want our players, it's very hard to keep hold of them. And our first loss was Mohamed Kudus, the Ghanaian 22-year-old, has moved to Man City for 51 mil. I could potentially have got more in that transfer deal, but I asked for 51 and City straight away went, yeah, we'll pay that. So we're losing a lot of goals. A player that was brilliant for us last year. We're going to need to replace him, but this is how we are funding our business model. £52 million. Kudus goes to City. We take the cash and we'll have to reinvest it in our team. It's not ideal, of course, but if we are going to try and win a Champions League, we are going to need to make some sales like this to improve the general squad. And I definitely think we've done that. The first place I needed to improve, though, was some squad depth in that wing-back position. We had Owen Windle at left wing-back, but we didn't really have any competition for him. So we have signed New Zealand international Liberato Kakash, a player that was playing for Empoli, and before that was in the Australian divisions and Belgium for STVV. £8.25 million was the fee we've paid for him, a player that could get better still, 22 years of age, isn't expecting loads of game time and can provide some ample competition for Windle at left wing back. And realistically, those two are both quite young, and maybe that's the left wing back position sorted for the rest of the rebuild. But for now, I am perfectly happy with this transfer. Ajax are known looking for value players and then selling them on for a profit, so we have signed a player that fits that bill in my opinion, Jose Cordoba, a 22-year-old from Panama with 8 international caps who can play centre-back, left-footed, ball-playing defender. If you don't know already, because I do have a lot of knowledge about FM because I make loads of videos on it, I know which players are good and bad usually. So in these rebuilds, I only buy players that my scouts recommend, and Cordoba seems to be a great recommendation. Already valued at £20 million, he comes in from Levski out in Bulgaria. After a great season there, they signed him for 100k. We spent £2.3 million on him, and he looks like a beast. Strong, quick, good at playing out the back, and he will fit that wide centre-back slot on that left-hand side brilliantly, I think. And our final signing was Jørgen Strand Larsen. I decided not to reinvest every single penny that we had in our transfer budget. I'm trying to make sure we make the right transfers for this Ajax team and let there be a pathway for our young homegrown talent too. And this is a 23-year-old Norwegian striker who we've signed from Celta Vigo after a decent season for them, but I do see a lot of promise in this man. He's 6'4", 18 strength, quick and good in the air. He's a good finisher who works hard, and he's got decent passing ability. The fact that it's suggesting he could be a complete forward shows you how good his ability might be, but as an advanced forward, he does everything that we'd ask for him. I think he's a brilliant talent, and hopefully he'll score goals for us. Our scouts seem to think he was great, so I'm hoping he will deliver the goals for our team. So now that our first season of transfers are complete, this is apparently what our best 11 looks like. It's Rulli in goal with Alvarez, Grealish, Cordoba, Timber, Windle, Klaassen, Taylor, Tadic, Bergwijn and Berghaus up front. That's so many different names to pronounce. Probably didn't make much sense, but you can see it there on the left. I think if I'm going to choose how I'd likely play this team, I feel like we'd have Strand Larsen up front here. And I'd like to have Timber at the back, so maybe I need to look for another option at wing back next season. But for now, this is the team that we're going to go with. We'll simulate the season and hopefully do better in the Champions League. But with losing Kudus, who knows? Let's see how we get on in our second season at the club. We're not expecting to win the UCL, but hopefully we can see some improvement. And improvement is exactly what we've got. This is what I want to see with our rebuild, just steady progress. We're not going to win the UCL straight away, but we win the Super Cup yet again. We go and win the Dutch Cup this time, and also the Eredivisie again, this time by 9 points over Feyenoord. We win the Friendly Cup as well. Woohoo, the kind of trophy Tottenham might win, but the Champions League, sorry Tottenham fans if you're watching, I didn't need to do that dig, that came out of nowhere. But yes, the Champions League, we finished in the quarterfinals this year, knocked out by Barcelona. If we have a look, it was a comfortable win for Barca. Two teams very closely linked, of course, with that link between Johan Cruyff, and Barca beat us 4-2 at our stadium, and then away we lost 2-1, so not the best performance across them legs. What's that, a 6-3 aggregate loss, but not the worst in the world. We knocked out Atletico Madrid to get there. We also had some Champions League games against Club Brugge, which we drew. Benfica we won, then we lost to Benfica as well. Napoli we played at one point and lost. So you can see we're a bit all over the place. We haven't really settled in the UCL just yet, but let's see if any of our new signings came in clutch for us. Who did well? Berghaus, actually, of all people, had the best season with 18 goals. He must have been starting up front quite a lot. We've also got Tadic again having a great season, and Strand Larsen, exactly what we wanted. I can see here he scored 28 goals in 28 starts, which is more than you could have asked for from the Norwegian. He's apparently now played 10 times for his national team and never scored once. Clearly, being understudy to Haaland isn't easy. He must be a substitute, but still, great first season from Strand Larsen. Looks like a great investment so far, and things are looking up for our team. There are definitely some positions in this team that could use some improvement though, so let's go out into the transfer market and see who we can pick up in Season 3. We'll start off with the sales. Young promising talent Jadon Bainal wanted to leave to PSG. This actually happened last year and I forgot to cover it, but he went into their B team for 4.5 mil. That's money in the bank for us. I've also decided to let Mohamed Darame go. He's going to RB Salzburg. In real life, I do think he'll be great for Ajax. He's gone to Copenhagen on loan this year and done well, but in our FM world, he just didn't do much at all. Played for us in that second season and didn't do too much, so I'm deciding to let him go for about 6 mil. And Florian Grealish has also left the club. The Austrian midfielder, 28 years of age, played quite a lot for us over the last couple of seasons after signing on a free from Hoffenheim, but we're letting him go for 4 mil to Sporting Club de Portugal out in the Portuguese divisions. His replacement in the team, I think, is a bigger improvement. We have signed Flavius Daniluk, an Austrian 23-year-old centre-back who's great with the ball at his feet, and he is coming in from RB Salzburg, who signed him from Salernitana in their first season in this save. He's been great for both teams, doing very well. You can see slowly that transfer fee is getting higher and higher as he progresses and becomes a real talent at centre-back. Likes to bring the ball out of defence. He's decently quick, he's strong, good jumping reach. He is a top-level defender and comes in as one of our best, up there with Timber in that centre-back position. So I think he's going to be great, and to pick him up for only 17 mil, I think is a phenomenal signing, and he is going to be the linchpin in this defence, hopefully. Speaking of defence, I mentioned that we needed some improvement at right wing back, so I've gone for Elias Jalert, a Danish 21-year-old being suggested by our scouts. He joins from Copenhagen after a good season there. This is exactly what we're after at Ajax, picking up players from outside of the top 5 European leagues usually, bringing them to Ajax, young talent, showcasing them, developing them, and then making 10 times the money that we buy them for. And I think Jalert here is a perfect example of that. A proper wing-back, loves to get forward, very quick, good at playing the ball in, a good passer with the potential to get better. He could be an elite-level fullback for our team and potentially in world football. And another signing that we've made is a goalkeeper. Geronimo Rulli will stay as our number 1 for this season because we have loaned this player back out to the club that we signed him from. It's Dennis Seaman of Stuttgart. The German looks like a brilliant goalkeeper at the age of 18. It looks like he's about ready, based on what I can see with Stuttgart, to be their first team goalkeeper. So he's going to play there for a season. 22 mil is a big signing, I must say, but I do think he will be our long-term option once Rulli goes. We'll let him develop out at Stuttgart for a bit longer, but we have bought him. He's valued at more than we paid for him, and I think he could be one of the world's best goalkeepers. To be this good at 18 is very promising, so hopefully everything works out there. And there we go, that's our transfers for now. We're not going too crazy, we're just bringing in 1 or 2 players at a time that we can really develop and make sure we're giving that pathway to young players in our academy. But our best 11 is still Rulli in goal. It's Danny Luck, Timber and Cordoba in what is, I think, a much stronger defence than what we originally had. Geller and Windle as very good wing-back options. Alvarez and Taylor in the midfield. Taylor developing very nicely as well at this stage. And then we've got Tadic, Bergwijn and Strand Larsen as our forward players. Maybe next season we'll start to think about bringing in some more talent on the wings because, I mean, Tadic isn't getting any younger, nor is Berghaus. And Bergwijn, you know what? I didn't think too much of him when we started this rebuild, but so far so good for him, and we'll keep him there for now. So let's see how Season 3 goes. Again, not expecting to win the UCL, but hopefully we can step it up this time, maybe get to a semi-final and keep building. Remember to like the video if you are enjoying, and let me know down below who you want to see rebuilt next. But let's take a look at how we've done. And I actually don't know how we've done just yet. I'm just having a look here. The Dutch Cup was quite disappointing. We did win this Johan Cruyff Schal yet again, and the Eredivisie by a really comfortable margin this year. As I mentioned, that Dutch Cup is really disappointing, but the Champions League, when I've got to the 31st of May, it says, you know, that the final hasn't been played yet between Arsenal and City, so I don't actually know where we got knocked out. We weren't in the semis, we weren't in the quarterfinals, We were in the round of 16, we lost 5-1 on aggregate to Man United. Absolutely battered there. That really isn't great at all. That's a really disappointing season. I mean, actually, you know what? Getting knocked out by Man United in the knockout rounds of the Champions League isn't the worst thing, but for it to have been in the round of 16, it does kind of show backwards progress, and the cup as well. But I feel like our team's in a better place, so I don't know, maybe just an off-season, we'll see who's played well, who hasn't. Maybe we can find the reason here. Maybe we just need to, have another go at it next season. Not sure, not our best season. And it could be a struggle to win the UCL now because we've only got 2 seasons to do so. But our best players this year have been Windal at wing-back, who's getting better and better in that position after a great season and 13 assists. He's looking great at wing-back. Cordoba, Danny looked, Rulli, it looks like our defence has been really good this year. Tadic and Strand Larsen getting 26 goals in 35 starts. And maybe we're just lacking goals a little bit, I mean, Bergwijn and Tadic both got, 14 and 16 between them, but that is less than what they were getting in previous years. So maybe we need to try and figure out a solution to that. But yes, certainly it has not been our best season. It's still been a good season winning the Eredivisie, but we'd like to win the Dutch Cup again. I want to be doing better in the Champions League. We've got some good young talents coming through that it might be time to promote as well. And as you can see, our facilities and coaching and recruitment, I've now maxed out to be the best that they can be. Financially, the club is flying and we've got £44 million to spend next year. So let's get spending. We're keeping up this idea of selling academy players when I don't deem them good enough for the first team. And we sold Silvano Voss here to Arsenal. That deal, by the way, was for £9.5 million, which for this kind of player, I think is a great deal. We've also let David Koloko go, a player that I had a lot of faith in but just hasn't really hit the heights, and at the age of 20 I don't really see the point in giving him too much more game time. I'm sure he'll develop out there, but I was interested in him from Man City, so we've let him go for £7.25 million. That's about £15 million combined for those 2 young players that had no chance in the first team, which we could then reinvest into some better talent. But not after losing our goalkeeper. I decided it was time to let Rulli go. He'd been great for us, but his contract was starting to get to the point where it might be running out. We also had Dennis Seaman having a good loan out at Stuttgart, who we've bought into the first team, a good young goalkeeper to build around. So we decided to offer Rulli out. He was happy to go. Newcastle came in. He goes to a very good club there, and he's netted us about £20 million for a 33-year-old, which I certainly think is good business. And bargain of the rebuild is surely going to go to Alex Scott from Bristol City, who I expected at this point would be at Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, but no, actually, he was still at Bristol, still in the Championship, and he'd let his contract expire. We were able to approach the signing. We had to pay a compensation fee of £850,000, but we were able just to straight up offer him a contract. He's joined for pretty much free. I mean, obviously we paid a compensation, but overall, that is a very good deal to bring in. 21 years of age, English, plenty of potential to get better, plenty of ability straight away. Comes in as a squad player who's very versatile, and I think over time, he'll really make his mark here at the club. But as far as bargains go, he is definitely one of them. I've decided to provide some competition for Steven Bergwijn as that inside forward on the left. So we've signed Gabriel Veron. He's coming in from Porto for £25 million after some good seasons for them, playing as a bench player, but when he did play, he did do well, and there's a lot of talent there. Someone I really think we can develop to another level, a Brazilian 22-year-old. I think he could be great. He just needs the game time, and I'm sure he will fly. And speaking of Brazilians, we've decided to finally replace Anthony for Ajax, looking for a Brazilian right winger who's left-footed, loves a skill, and wants to cut in. And that is exactly what Angelo is. 20 years of age, still playing for Santos in this save, where he's been doing so well. Had a release clause of £17.5 million. I tried to sign him last year, he didn't want to come. This season, he was ready to make the move. And I mean, look, he already looks phenomenal. He's got room to get better as an inverted winger on that right-hand side to provide competition with Tadic and Berghaus. I think Angelo is the future there. As them two get older, Angelo can pick up the game time. He wants to be a star player, valued at about 50 million. He is going to be phenomenal, I am sure, but we're very happy to bring him in. We've done really well in terms of like balancing out our sales and our signings so far, the way that Ajax do in real life. And our best team now is apparently Seaman in goal, who isn't as talented as Rulli just yet, but has the potential to really exceed him. Danny Look, Timber, Cordoba, Jala and Windal. Danny Look, by the way, we've had a few offers from Man City of about 50 million, which I've rejected. I just didn't really see any options to replace him, and I feel like he could get better yet and become a real top level player. So we're not selling him right now. We're trying to push for the Champions League at this stage, and then it's Alvarez, Taylor, Tadic, Bergwijn and Strand Larsen still. Our new players don't come into that lineup just yet. As these players get older, we've got them young players to come through, take on that game time and do well. So now it's time for Season 4. Can we at least this time make it past the round of 16? Hopefully at least into the quarterfinals or something. We'll see how we get on, but we're running out of time now to win the UCL. And this is a much bigger improvement than what we had before. We win the Johan Cruyff Schal yet again. The Dutch Cup we have won. The Eredivisie we win, but only by 2 points. Feyenoord starting to catch up with us. They had a good year, but the Champions League, we got to the semi-final. Obviously that's great, but my only issue is Man City did go on to win the competition, but they battered us 4-0 across 2 legs, which is pretty worrying when you think, what if we get them again next year? I'm not sure this team is at the level yet to compete. Can we even sign the players to compete with a Man City? Probably not. We just have to rely on our youth talent developing. But maybe next season we can get a lucky run to the final. I don't know. It's going to be very hard to win it. I'm going to ease the expectations by saying it's pretty unlikely now that we will win the UCL. But in terms of sorting the squad out, we've done a very good job of that. We've got 1 season left. We've won plenty of trophies along the way as well, become the most dominant side in the Netherlands by far. Even though Ajax would have been classed as one of those teams already up there, we've really asserted our dominance on the league. Strand Larsen having his best season so far, really turning in to a top level striker, heading into the prime of his career now. On top of that, we've had Seaman doing pretty well across the course of the season, as well as Owen Windle, who has ended up contributing with 14 assists this year. So he's improved on his 13, which was his best from before. You can see it might be the end of the likes of Berghaus, who is now joining Spartak Moscow. Looks like we didn't renew his contract. Bergwijn contributing with 15 goals, Angelo getting 10, Tadic getting 11. But he is now retiring at the end of this season, so he's going to need replacing. It's a lot to do to win the UCL whilst we lose these big players, but I think we prepared well for it. I definitely think we've built a better team than what Ajax have got in real life currently, built up the structure around the club as well, but with 1 final season left, can we make the right transfers to take us to the next level? Well, first I need to admit an issue to you guys. I said I'd only sign under 23 players, and I thought I had done, but there is one player that we've bought in this summer that is over the age of 23, and I realised once he'd already joined the club, it was an approach to sign deal completely free for Hamid Traore, 26 years of age from Bournemouth. My only argument is that he was under 23 when I started this rebuild at least, so maybe that's why he was in my head as a young player. But yes, we picked him up after the scouts came in. I saw he was free, didn't even think about it, gave him a contract. Looking at it now though, yes, I have broken my rule a little bit, but overall, we've stayed under the age of 23, so please forgive that one. He does look like a good player though, someone that we're very happy to have in our team. Good competition on that left flank now with a bunch of players over there who can play well, and I think Traore, you've got to pick him up when he's available for free, now valued at 60 mil, what a star. We spent £30 million on another striker option, someone to kind of replace Tadic. We have gone for the Croatian 22-year-old from Bayern Munich, Gabriel Vidovic. He starts off as a youngster at Bayern who's been playing some game time for him here and there, particularly doing well in his most recent season, coming off the bench most of the time, but we've paid 30 mil for him, a player that could play inside forward, number 10, centre mid, or even as a striker. I think he's got a lot of ability, a good passer, a good dribbler, good finisher, decent physically as well, scores goals for his national team, under 23 as well this one, thank God, and I'm hoping he can lead the line for us in the future and provide some real good competition for Strand Larsen, which we haven't really had for this rebuild. And finally, I've decided to improve our options at the back, signing Ousmane Diamonde, the 22-year-old Ivorian from Sporting Club de Portugal. £27 million for him, a player that was playing regularly for one of the best sides in Portugal over there. A dominant player who can get better yet, a great passer of the ball, who's strong and quick, 6'3", an international with plenty of experience. A brilliant player to add to our lineups, but if we have a look now at our best 11, it's apparently Simon in goal with Daniluk, Timber, Cordoba, Gela, Windle, Alvarez, Taylor, Bergwijn, Traore and Strand Larsen. Whether these will be the players that play, I'm not sure, but we certainly have a lot better squad depth now. You think the likes of Angelo, Vidovic, Wrench, Klassen, Alex Scott, Kakash, Diamonde, Veron, Tadic, all on the bench, available to help. Hopefully we can push on in this final season. I don't know how it's going to go, but there is enough squad depth there to hopefully get us over the line. Fair play to Timber as well. He had some offers this summer to leave. We rejected most of those offers and he didn't kick up a fuss. So thank you, Timber. But now let's go for it. Our final season in the rebuild. Can we win the UCL? And we've only gone and done it. There is a negative to this season as well, but thank God we've won that, because it's 5 seasons of rebuilding in, I don't know if you know, I'm in the UK and it's scorching heat right now. And I've got all these cameras and lights on me, sweating, absolutely sweating. So I'm very happy that this has turned out to be successful. We've won the Johan Cruyff Schal pretty much every season that we've been here, I'm sure. We've won the Dutch Cup as well. The Champions League we'll get onto in a second, but the negative is the fact that maybe because we went so deep in the Champions League, we weren't as good in the Eredivisie this year. Feyenoord getting 85 points. Whether we've actually got worse worse or they've got better. I'm not sure, but they've had a great season under Arne Slot there. I mean, yeah, fair play to them. They've been up our tails for the whole of this rebuild, slowly getting closer, and they've gone and won the title. It will be a big annoyance to Ajax fans, but hopefully they can forgive us that we have won the UCL. So only a second place spot this year for us, but if we do have a look at our performance across this Champions League, how well did we do? Let's start off with the league phase. There's a draw there against Newcastle, beating the teams that we used to struggle against, the likes of Shakhtar. Who else did we play? We did lose to Villarreal, beating Ferencváros. We got through basically into the playoff round where we played Atletico Madrid. A good home performance, ended up winning 3-0 on aggregate, got us in to the round of 16 where we played Man United, and thankfully they got a man sent off after 18 minutes. Anthony scoring against his old club when they were down to 10 men, but that gave us the chance to win 2-1. Then we drew 1-1 at home. Actually a good performance, Garnacho scoring late on at Old Trafford. That got us into the quarters where we faced Arsenal, so it wasn't an easy ride in any sense to this final. We lost the first game, took them to the Johan Cruyff Arena, levelled the match, and then Strand Larsen completes his hat-trick in the 91st minute to take us into the semis where we face off against Man City, who I mentioned before I feel like we'd have no chance of beating, but Vidovic scores a penalty at the Etihad to give us a 1-1 draw, and then at home, which seems to be where we've played best, oh my word, we've won 2-1 in the 99th minute. We know a few years ago, Ajax had semi-final defeat against an English side in Tottenham in dramatic fashion in the last minute. Well, we finally got revenge. Bergwijn scores, then Bernardo Silva, then in the 99th minute, Aymeric Laporte scores an own goal and Rafael Leao gets sent off, which gives us the extra time for that own goal to happen. I've just seen the average match ratings. It looks like Seaman had a great game, but here is the goal in the 99th minute. I think it's added time and not extra time. No, it was extra time we scored in. Hamed Traoré, we're playing against 10 men, he beats his man, plays it in, and it's an awful own goal from Laporte in the end, but we'll certainly take it. Puts us into the final against Real Madrid where we win 2-0. Vidovic scoring and then Traoré getting a second in the 92nd minute. And this squad has done absolutely brilliantly to win that competition. We've got great players everywhere. Some players that we've had since the start, like Timber, Windal, Alvarez, Taylor, Bergwijn. These are players that Ajax can clearly build off in real life based on what's happened here in FM. We've rebuilt the club. We've done well. We've got great facilities. We've won a Champions League. We've won 4 Eredivisie titles, 5 Johan Cruyff Schals, and I think a few Dutch Cups in there as well. So it's been a great rebuild. So I'm very happy with that. Let me know down below who you want to see rebuilt next. Thank you for watching. Smash the like button, subscribe, but most of all, have a great day everyone. Take care in the heat and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.